What's up and welcome back to Fern's Hot Take Sports. I'm excited to finally be back. It's been a while. I had a lot of things going on towards the end of the summer. When football came back, I wanted to jump right on the wagon and just start going crazy, making videos. But a lot of things came up. I'm not going to bore you with the details because I want to keep this video quick. I was going to do a longer podcast, but I wanted to keep it simple. I just wanted to do a video doing a recap of the week that happened. We are now in week 4, and I'm going to recap week 3 of last week. Keep it quick, keep it simple, and give you all just a quick recap of what happened. So starting off, we had Miami taking down Jacksonville on the Thursday night game, 31-13. That not much you want to see here. Jacksonville looks as bad as expected, giving up about 30 points a game. Nothing really too great to see, except the funny story of how Gardner Minshew and Ryan Fitzpatrick trading jabs on each other about their mustache and beard. The beard was more powerful than the mustache, obviously. But in all seriousness, no, it was good to see Miami get a good win. All right, let's head to the Sunday games. And let's just get the bad ones right off the gate. Starting off with probably the worst game, which was Cincinnati tying with the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams now 0-2-1. Oh my God, both teams are just awful to watch. The Bengals I knew were going to be bad. Joe Mixon didn't get anything going off the ground, and the Bengals O-line is just as terrible as expected. Giving up, I think it was 8 or 9 sacks. They better start finding a way to protect Burrow soon. Hopefully Jonah Williams from Alabama develops. But the Eagles, if I'm Philly, I want answers for a lot of the things that are going wrong with this team. Yes, it's injuries again, like last year, which, okay. That should start becoming a trend that maybe your team is just not strong enough to take these hits. If it's every year. And I think this is the 3rd year in a row now. Your team has gotten decimated by injuries. But the coaching was just god-awful, especially at the end. It didn't help your O-line got beat all day. Jason Peters is not a tackle. I don't know why they keep using him as a tackle. On top of the fact that they completely screwed up a chance to win the game. You had a 59-yard field goal for a great kicker in Jake Elliott, and then you get a false start. You're at 64 yards now. Okay, it's probably impossible, but you give it a try at least. According to Doug Peterson's mind, no, you don't. You just punt it with 18 seconds left and just give up on the game. Now I see why Philly wants him run out of town right now. But I wouldn't put all the blame on Wentz. As bad as he looks, throwing only 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, that whole team around him is just as bad and decimated by injuries. But this is looking to be a long year for Philly. And Bengals, we knew you're trash, so that's just to be expected. The next one was San Francisco pounding the Giants 36-9. This was embarrassing on a whole nother scale. Now, if this was the 49ers of last year, I wouldn't say much about this game. It would only take like 10 seconds and just say the usual Giants suck, 49ers are good. But listen to the names of players who weren't even playing for this game. No Jimmy Garoppolo, no Raheem Mostert, no Tevin Coleman, no George Kittle, no Solomon Thomas, no Nick Bosa, no Dre Greenlaw, no D Ford, and I'm pretty sure there were even more players injured. They're literally playing with a bunch of backups. You got torched by Nick Mullins. The Giants look terrible this year, and it looks like it's going to be another punt year. I don't know how many times the Giants have heard that. This is what now? The 4th year in a row you're punting? If I'm a New York fan, I'm just not watching sports for a while. Unless, just go focus on the Yankees. At least that'll get your mind off of this embarrassment of a team. Hopefully, Daniel Dirk can actually stop fumbling and turning over the ball. But let's not get optimistic here. And going from one god awful NFC East team, let's go to another. The Washington football team. I can't, that name is still so bad to hear. Lost 34-20 against Cleveland. How do you make Cleveland look competent? A team that just does not look disciplined and ready on certain games. You made them look like a great team. Although, to be fair, with that dual-headed running back monster and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, I can't blame them. But Dwayne Haskins looks terrible. The supporting cast around him is just as bad as him, but he's making bad reads all over the place. He looks lost on the field. He just doesn't look ready to play quarterback. And this season's going to be even less forgiving on him because he already had his quote-unquote rookie season. This team looks terrible. Plain and simple. The only reason they're not 0-3 is because they played the Eagles. And they imploded. Browns, just take this win and walk away. Don't get confident thinking you're the top of the AFC North when the Ravens and Steelers are probably more competitive than you. Speaking of Steelers, Pittsburgh won a hard-fought game, but a close one to the Houston Texans with a score of 28-21. Ben played a good game like he has been doing. Nothing amazing. Probably getting about close to 66% in passing again, which is really good, by the way. I wouldn't say it was a nothing day for him. It just didn't entirely matter because Texans just decided to just fall apart again. You know what could help? Oh, if they had a number one receiver on the Texans. Gee, I wonder where. You pay for Brandon Cooks. Oh, it turns out he likes to vanish on the field and not do anything. If only they had that true number one. It's not like they never drafted one and gave him away. I don't know. Bill O'Brien, this is why you're in the hot seat. And I'm going to be talking about coaches on the hot seat tomorrow. There are some I have an axe to grind against. But this doesn't surprise me. The Texans are 0-3. They're a mess of a team who made some god-awful off-season decisions. Which includes giving Bill O'Brien the rights to be a GM. But I digress. Next, we're going to go to, I'd probably say the next forgettable game after Philly, which was New England winning 36-20 against the Raiders. Raiders were coming in with momentum and talent and confidence, and it's gone. It's not saying the Patriots played great. They played bad and won. They played great. I keep saying Oakland. Las Vegas made so many mistakes that killed what could have been a very close, hard-fought game. Too many fumbles. Way too many fumbles. And with the best head coach of all time in Bill Belichick on the other side, you make those mistakes against him, he'll make you pay for it. Especially on the back of an aging Rex Burkhead who is playing really good right now. And just when we finally thought the Patriots were dead, as you could tell, the inside of me is dying really fast. Please let someone stop him. Or at this rate, Cam Newton's probably going to get comeback player of the year. And the Patriots probably win another Super Bowl to make everyone else in the NFL die around us. Except Patriots fans. Next is the big nail biter. One of the big nail biters of the day. Tennessee coming back and winning 31-30. I'm hitting the panic button if I'm Minnesota right now. You got destroyed in week 1 and 2 against teams like the Packers and Colts. And in week 3, when you were comfortably leading against the Titans most of the game, you can't close the door. Even when Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook have over 150-yard days at running back and wide receiver, each with a touchdown, you back those players up with good performances, including that great catch by Kyle Rudolph. How do you respond? Your defense falls asleep. Yes, they've gotten wrecked with some bad injuries to key positions. But they couldn't do enough to stop them. On top of the fact, Dan Bailey missed one field goal, which turned out to be crucial because Steven Gostkowski decided to turn the clock back a few years and not miss. Literally, he went 6 for 6 after people thought he was cooked on week 1. Funny how that comes around. Mike Zimmer is probably now in the hot seat. Minnesota better figure out something or they're going to be in a lot of trouble. This team can't shake that legacy of failure at this point. I just don't believe it. Now let's get into the game I've been trying to avoid for a long time. I didn't want to talk about it. I literally sat there and could not believe this happened again. I'm going to talk about this game more in depth tomorrow. But just know, Chicago came back and won 30-26 against the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm only going to state a few points here. And these are the following. 1, Atlanta was dominating the whole game. 2, Mitchell Trubisky played like garbage the whole point until he got benched. 3, Nick Foles, I'm almost certain, let me just double check. Nick Foles went 16 for 29. A little over 50%. Which is not that impressive. And 4, they had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter with a 99% chance to win. Let me clarify that last point. This is the second week in a row now where they blew an over 16-point lead and a 99% chance to win in a row. They are the only team to have ever done this. And I've got a lot to say about this. But just know Atlanta's been wasting talent for too long. And I've got a lot of animosity towards the way they've run things. Which, like I said, tomorrow I'm going to grind my axe on some head coaches who definitely need to be considered for being gone after this year. Atlanta, why do you make me angry? You just never cease to add on to that giant failure that adds on to the failure that your foundation of your team has been built upon for your whole life. Your team has never recovered from 28-3, and I can tell. Let's wrap up the afternoon games with the best showing of the bunch. A tight shootout, which ended up with Buffalo squeaking away with what seems like a controversial win, 35-32. Well, Buffalo, you did what was needed. Josh Allen looked great for most of the game until he decided to fumble again. Defense was doing good for a while, and then they let the Rams get back into it. It was a good game overall, I thought. Ironically, the score was 28-3. It seems like the NFL just has a hard-on for just letting 28-3 leads potentially cost the winning team the game. I don't know why, but that just seems to be the rule of thumb in now the NFL. That's happened again. Both teams played really well, but I have a smile on my face because remember 2 years ago how Rams fans celebrate going to the Super Bowl even though they they got gifted a Super Bowl chance because of the laughableness that is the refs being pretty much blind. Guess what? It happened again and it backfired on them. They got a questionable pass interference call that ended up blowing them the game. Funny how that seems to finally come around in moments when you need it. As a Seahawks fan, I salivate in this. I find it hilarious. Karma hits like with precision. Hopefully that cap hell doesn't start hitting you soon. With that out of the way, let's get to the afternoon games, which they were all pretty bad, save for two. Let's start with the bad games. I want to talk about one because I'm really mad about it. It was Detroit against Arizona. Yes, as a rival, I have a very soft spot for the Cardinals. I love Kyler Murray. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I love the system they built around their team. But what the hell happened? Kyler Murray played like garbage. And this is a Lions defense missing their two best corners. That's embarrassing. Along with their defense emulating like Texas Tech when Cliff Kingsbury was there. And Cardinals threw away a game they could have easily won and been 3-0 with. Well, hopefully this doesn't become a habit of losing the teams you definitely should be having the advantage against. Lions, just take this win and go away. Matt Stafford did what was needed and continues to prove to be the best fantasy football quarterback. Why do I call him fantasy football? He'll do nothing for most of the game, throw a few touchdowns, and get great numbers for fantasy. But they won this game. They didn't make as many mistakes, and it showed with the final score. Next game, Tampa just destroyed Denver, 28-10. To think, I had the Broncos being the first wild card spot this year. Well, little did I know they would get hit with just the version of the bubonic plague on their team, with literally everyone dying on their team due to injuries. And going to be out for a while, from Drew Lock to Cortland Sutton to Phillip Lindsay to the defense. This team's cursed. This team is cursed. It has to be. They sold their soul for Peyton Manning to win the Super Bowl. Now Jeff Driscoll was played so bad to the point where he got benched for Brett Rippon. I don't even know who that is. You know what? Tampa Bay may be overrated, and I'm going to still stand by that. But they've done what they needed to against bad opponents. So, credit goes where credit's due. Let's see if Tampa can beat a real opponent going forward. Considering, well, let's see, who are they playing next week? They play the Chargers. I think that'll be their first true test, maybe. Speaking of Chargers, they lost to Carolina, 21-16. It was your traditional rookie experience for a quarterback. Get pounded by a defense and fumble the ball and turn over the ball at a nauseating rate that makes your fans want to die on the inside. It happens to everybody. It just decided to happen early for you, Justin Herbert. But I'm concerned about something, and it's Carolina's offense. Even without McCaffrey, the fact that they went to the red zone 6 times and only scored 1 touchdown, that's a very scary sign. They kicked 5 field goals. I would be panicking if I'm Carolina if your offense actually has some strength to it without McCaffrey. Hopefully they could figure something out going forward, but it was a nice win. That and Keenan Allen just decided to mess up a lateral on Justin Herbert's first final drive of his career. Which I will say this. For someone who decided to completely throw Herbert under the bus, I am sorry about that. He actually looks pretty solid. It's only 2 weeks in, so I'm not willing to completely say he's a hit. But he looks solid for the games he's played. I'm curious to see what Chargers coach Anthony Lynn and the team does to build around the next year. Because they're probably not making the playoffs this year. Now let's just talk about the most embarrassing game of the week. The Colts absolutely embarrassed the Jets 36-7. Please explain to me why Adam Gase is a head coach. He killed Tannehill until he left to Tennessee, and he's doing the same to Sam Darnold. I don't find it accidental how every time you go into a new offense, players just seem to play infinitely worse while he's there. I don't find it a coincidence. He's killing Sam Darnold and his career. And if they don't do something about it, they're going to be doomed. Colts, all you had to do was have a pulse and you would have won this game. Don't get cocky. That first embarrassing loss to Jacksonville still stays because it shows Philip Rivers turns the ball over a lot. We'll see in a few weeks. Let's wrap up the late afternoon games with Seattle winning the shootout against Dallas. This is why I wear this. I love Seattle. And it's moments like this. Russell Wilson is playing like a god. Plain and simple. He had another 5-touchdown day. And I'll say this, Dak played pretty solid as well. Dallas unfortunately came up short. The thing is, here's the bad thing though, and I will say this. Russell Wilson is playing insane. The problem is, he has to play that way. Have you seen how awful Seattle's defense has been playing? How many points and yards are giving up, infinitely? Some of these games should be blowouts, but they're all really close because their defense is not playing good. And it comes from a mixture of a lack of pressure to the quarterback, not being able to just get the job done. If their defense can step up, I think there will definitely be a lot of promise going into the playoffs. They look like one of the strongest teams in the NFC, which makes me happy. And it also makes me happy because Dallas is not even winning their awful division. The Washington football team is. Can we just give someone else that playoff spot? Can we give it to someone in the West? I would rather see the Rams or Cardinals in the playoffs. Or the 49ers. They look just as good as well. I would rather see one of them make the playoffs over anybody who wins in the NFC East. Everybody in that division looks terrible. Someone could win that division at 7-9. God, 6-10. It's that bad. Only time will tell. Now to Sunday night. And I watched this game with my dad. And he was not happy about it. Let me just quickly explain it. It was Green Bay against New Orleans. Green Bay won 37-30. Once again, this is another team. If I am a Saints fan, I'm hitting the big red nuke that is the panic button. They look bad on defense, not on the D line and linebackers. Their front seven, pretty solid. Their secondary, no one on that secondary list competent. Not Lattimore, not PJ Williams, not Marcus Williams, not Malcolm Jenkins, not Janoris Jenkins. Everybody on that secondary looks terrible. And when your team is also the most penalized team through 3 weeks, when you're averaging over 100 yards in penalties, let me tell you, that's not a recipe for success. That's how you implode as a team. I can attest to this. I watched the 2017 Seattle Seahawks, who got penalized at a nauseating rate and missed the playoffs at 9-7. That kind of play style will only lead to failure, and lots of it. The Saints better figure out some way to build some sort of organization in their team, or this is going to be a bad sign. You could also say Drew Brees was washed up, but they also put up a lot of points. The problem is he's not getting a lot of action to his wide receivers. He's not clicking well with Traquan Smith, and especially not with Emmanuel Sanders. Who knew the Saints would be struggling immensely without Michael Thomas? It's showing now. Is that why it masked why Drew Brees throws so low? Low yardage per play? Maybe, I don't know. Hopefully that check down thing doesn't start to become a massive habit. Let's wrap this up with the last game. Kansas City winning comfortably 34-20, and this was so one-sided, it's unreal. I was expecting a nice hot shootout between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. We got one of them. It wasn't Lamar. He had less than 100 yards of passing. He had 97. That's bad. That's really bad. Their offense did nothing save for a kick return touchdown by Devin Duvernay. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, he felt like just making Ravens fans cry. With 4 touchdowns, Marcus Peters should go into, hiding or witness protection or something, the way he got torched all night long. He looked terrible. And something tells me the Chiefs are going to be the threat of the AFC for a long time to come. Why do I feel like Patrick Mahomes, is going to be the next dynasty in the NFL? We'll see. With that out of the way, it's great to be back. Make sure if you already aren't a part of the channel, make sure you subscribe, you like, you give comments to ideas you want me to look at. With that out of the way, this was Fern's Hot Take Sports, signing off for today. See ya.